What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So MSI has had some announcements for us today. There have been news stories popping up everywhere since this morning. MSI Claw is going to have their actual Gen 2 device ready for this year using Intel's next generation, their Lunar Lake. So I want to take a little bit of a look at that. We've got a bunch of articles here. I'm just going to grab a couple to take a look at, see what we can grab from those. This is early days, and I'm sure information is pretty limited, but I figured it would be fun to talk about because, well, the MSI Claw, the original one that released just 3 months ago, it's been a very tough device to test. It's not been great, and I personally don't feel like this generation of the Core Ultra 7 and 5 chips are really meant for a handheld device. The amount of power that it needs, the thermals, the performance, the drivers, it just doesn't seem great for that. I've seen it pretty good in a lot of laptops, but I don't think it's been a great choice for the handheld. So Lunar Lake is definitely something different that hopefully can solve that problem coming from Intel. So anyways, let's take a look at some of these articles here and see what we can find out about the new MSI Claw that's going to be coming this year. So like I said, there's been a bunch of articles today. One of the first ones I caught this morning was from Digital Trends. MSI's sequel to the Claw handheld is a major redesign, and I saw it in the flesh. And they have some pictures up here on their website as well, and I'll try to make sure there's some stuff up on the screen to see that. Now, who knows what this will look like when it actually launches, but just from taking a look, it looks pretty sleek and looks pretty nice. It's taking a lot, of course, from Gen 1. I really do feel like we were beta testers on the original Claw and that they just kind of rushed that thing out, to be honest with you. Got something out there for Intel, and this is actually going to be the Claw that hopefully will perform the way we expect. All right, so anyway, let's just take a look at some of the stuff they have in this article first. I was critical of the MSI Claw when I reviewed it, and I wasn't alone. MSI's push into the world of handheld gaming PCs wasn't graceful, that is the truth. Lacking performance, subpar battery life, and plenty of software quirks marring the experience, and I can definitely echo all those sentiments. The Claw has actually improved quite a bit in these 3 months. I will give them credit for that. A lot of games are performing better. There's been tons of updates, but it's still a very messy device that is hard to recommend over all the other great choices we have out there. Considering it's just the second generation, it might shock you to find out that this is not a refresh of the original Claw. The Claw 8 AI Plus, I think is what they're calling this, or at least this is the code name for it. The Claw 8 AI Plus, as it's called, is a complete hardware redesign that includes one of Intel's new Lunar Lake CPUs. I was invited out to the company's headquarters, blah, 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 to check it out. There's a lot new here. Spec-wise, MSI confirmed its Lunar Lake chip, but wouldn't specify which one. Intel isn't confirming any of that either. They are saying, though, up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X at up to 8.5 gigabytes for the speed. That's really nice. 1 terabyte SSD at 2280 SSD as well. M.2, so much easier to swap out and work on that. Was not great, the original design that they had on the first MSI Claw, getting to the SSD that they had there. Elsewhere, MSI added dual Thunderbolt ports to the top of the device, and it redesigned the triggers and external shell. I wasn't able to actually touch it. Now, I will say, the ergonomics, like the way the Claw, even the original Claw is built, I really like it. I love the feel of the MSI Claw, but it's when you get into using the device that it tends to start to fall apart and have its issues. Now, they are going to an 8-inch screen here from 7, which I love because, honestly, using the Steam Deck OLED and the Legion Go with their larger screens has really got me adjusted to the larger screen. When I go back to the smaller 7-inch on the Ally or on the Claw, it really does bug me. I know for a lot of people that's a sweet spot, but I do prefer a little bit of a bigger screen. So that is nice to hear. 8-inch, but it is going to stay the 1080p at the 120 hertz, at least what they're saying here. Along with new specs, MSI says it's using an 80-watt-hour battery with the Claw 8, which again matches the new ROG Ally X. Yeah, of course, we have the announcement of the ROG Ally X coming in July. I think it's July 22nd, something like that. The only way we're really getting more battery life out of these devices right now anyway, until chips get efficient enough, if we get there, is bigger batteries. More weight, bigger batteries. That's kind of where we're headed here with a lot of these devices. I'm noticing the trend of 80-watt-hour, 90-watt-hour batteries, and to get us to that 2-3 hour mark, and more with a lot of the heavy load gaming and that type of thing. So yeah, that's not any kind of surprise. The announcement comes just months after MSI released the Claw originally, showing how much ground it's trying to make up in the competitive world of handhelds. MSI tells me that along with this new generation of device, it's not giving up on the current Claw. It's continuing to work with Intel to release driver updates for the handheld one of which received recently. Yeah. There was another BIOS update for the Claw as well, more driver updates. They have been updating the device a lot, and it has improved a lot since launch, but it still doesn't perform or to the level I think it should. It's not as smooth of an experience that I think it should be, and just that chip, the Core Ultras, I just don't see them with their thermals, the amount of power it takes to get the performance out of them, especially trying to do something in handheld mode. I just don't think they're the best chips for a handheld device. But these new Lunar Lake chips, I've been keeping an eye out coming from Intel, hopefully will solve a lot of that problem. Continuing on, even with that, MSI indeed has a lot of ground to cover. Lunar Lake might be the answer. Intel hasn't been shy about the radical low power architecture of Lunar Lake, which has a lot of implications for a handheld gaming device, which is what I'm talking about when it comes to just these Core Ultra 7 and 5 we have now, and the Claw, they're not great for such a small handheld device. The amount of power you need to get the performance out of those chips is much higher than we want to see for something like that, not to mention just the other quirks and issues that they've had. But yeah, so this is great to see if Lunar Lake proves out to be what we hope it could be there. There's also a significant improvement to the integrated graphics, which adopt Intel's Battle Mage architecture. Details are sparse, but Intel is certainly taking a big game when it comes to the graphics. And this will be nice to see. I read somewhere that we're supposed to see up to a 50% increase in graphics over the current Ultra chips that we've been checking out. And if that's true, and they're not as power hungry, and there's not a lot of bugs, and things work, and drivers are working, there's a lot of potential with Intel coming on with this next generation of chips for the handhelds. But then again, we've been here before. Although the original MSI Claw has some issues outside the processor, there's no doubt that the Meteor Lake CPU plays a significant role in its pitfalls. In retrospect, it's no surprise that the Claw was the only handheld to adopt the chips other than any other device opting for AMD. And this is blatantly obvious. If I have my Go, my Ally, and even my Steam Deck all next to me, and then my Claw, all those running AMD just typically are a much better experience over the Intel chips that are in the current Claw now. But I was super happy to see Intel getting back into the game. I really want to see Intel come out both on the desktop side, handheld side, laptops, and push AMD and keep them going, because we need that competition between the two to really keep pushing this stuff. So I was happy to see someone come out with something Intel, but it was just a little bit too soon. Hopefully Lunar Lake is going to get us closer to where we need to be as far as a chip for these handhelds from Intel that will work, and the MSI Claw, the next MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, whatever they call it, should hopefully give us a taste of that, and probably pretty soon. I believe I saw on Reddit that they were talking about this releasing in September of this year, so I figured September, October, November, in that range. So it's not going to be that long, and definitely within 5-6 months of the original Claw release, the beta Claw, we're going to get the real MSI Claw later on this year. So this all sounds really interesting. I'll definitely keep an eye on it. I want to see what Intel is cooking up here with Lunar Lake and how this is going to translate into the handhelds, and if it can actually take us a leap forward from where we are now with those Intel chips, because right now they're just not it. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.